What are we talking about? We are talking about The Last Unicorn. That's right. It's The Last. Brought to you by 1982, because that's when shit was awesome. So, in your face.
The clouds are packed this toy. Look and see her, how she sparkles. It's the last unicorn. I'm alive. I'm alive.
This is one of those Western features that introduced a generation to basically everything that is anime, because the core animation staff that worked on The Last Unicorn were hired by this guy named Miyazaki to work on this little film called Nausicaa, who then became Studio Ghibli. So it has a certain feel and you like it because it's these guys. Everything you love about Studio Ghibli, you see in here, and you're like, I don't know why I love this so much. It's because it's literally 2 steps away from being a Studio Ghibli feature. That's why you love it so much. That, and it's got a unicorn in it. These are the guys who also brought you the old school Lord of the Rings feature, as in The Hobbit and the animated Return of the King, and Flight of Dragons. If you've ever seen those, you know they're awesome, because they are. So, if somehow you're one of these people who doesn't know what The Last Unicorn is, let me break it down for you. It's a story about the last unicorn. What don't you understand? You know why she's the last unicorn? Because she's the last unicorn. And she's got to ask this tripped out butterfly what happened to the rest of them. And when he's not in a Coke-infused frenzy, he finally spits out what happened. And it's kind of cryptic and kind of weird. The Red Bull chased him down all the roads long ago, and he ran so close behind them that he covered their footprints. And she goes, okay, cracked out butterfly, I'll just start walking. So she just picks a road and just kind of starts going down it in hopes to find the Red Bull, or at least some other unicorn, because she's really lonely. But she's not really trying to rescue them. She just wants to know what happened. If she kind of gets caught along with them, oh well, at least she's with them. She's not really like, I'm going to find them and I'm going to get them. That's not really her bag. Kind of a emotionless iceberg of a individual. She's like, well, I guess I should find the unicorns. If I have to help them, I guess I can, but... This is your main character! Not how you imagine unicorns to be, but she is the total opposite of every character you would ever think you would care about, because she's totally like, whatever. Meh. That's not how you imagine a unicorn. You imagine unicorns either legend style or My Little Pony style. Not to mention that before the story, the original story of The Last Unicorn, all unicorns in the history of unicorns were male. Peter S. Beagle invented the female unicorn, and they've pretty much been female ever since. So good job. I bet you didn't know that. She's so ambivalent about everything that you kind of don't like her. You kind of don't like her at first. You grow to like her, but at first you're like, well, I kind of feel about you the way you feel about everything else. Meh. But then, that really turns around when you meet this fucking asshole who's the greatest asshole ever, Schmendrick the Magician. He's great. He's not an asshole like he's an asshole, but he's an incompetent asshole. And the fact that I'm trying to do this and he can't, that's what makes him an asshole. I am a bearer, I am a vessel, I am a messenger. You are an idiot! Great dialogue, but he's great. The unicorn, she doesn't have a name until she becomes human, but Schmendrick really helps the character development of Amalthea by the sheer happenstance of the story that is laid out by the incomparable Peter S. Beagle, who is super awesome, who I had the opportunity to kind of talk with and be a dork to, and I really appreciate him not rolling his eyes at me, because he could have. And my wife was fangirling and could barely talk to him. So, in retrospect, I stayed cool. She freaked out. If you're new to The Last Unicorn and you have either children of your own or nieces and nephews, expose them to this as soon as possible because it's a little mature, but it's not so mature that it's going to scar them. The sooner they learn you should never run from anything immortal because it attracts their attention, the better. You know who's going to survive the Minotaur attack? Probably your kid. I'm just saying, you know who knows how to deal with the harpy? Everybody who's watched this. Did I mention Molly was great? Because Molly's great. Molly Grew is so awesome for, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but for such an ugly character. She's so awesome. You really like Molly because Molly's real. Cut away from yourself, not toward, you fucking idiot. That's how I learned how to peel potatoes. Some of the dialogue is out of time, but it doesn't really matter. That's the interesting thing about The Last Unicorn. The dialogue is super dark for the animation style, which is like super bright. It's almost too contrasting. Almost. There's this fine line that they walk, and they walk it great until they start singing. But that's not their fault. If you're like me, you're going to fast forward over the Amalthea and Prince Lear song because it's terrible. But other than that, it's totally fine. If you have to sit through a musical, it's not the worst. It's just that one song. I swear to God, it's just that one song. The rest of the music is fine. The rest of the music, most of it is done by America. And how can you go wrong? There's always been a big cult following behind Last Unicorn soundtrack, and there's a reason. There is still a huge cult following with The Last Unicorn itself. And guess what? It just happens to be on Netflix right now. This has excellent voice acting. Even by today's standards, excellent voice acting. By some very unexpected sources, Angela Lansbury is the most evil witch. And every time someone mentions Angela Lansbury, I don't think Murder, She Wrote. I always think Mommy Fortuna. Not alone! You never could have freed yourselves alone! I held you! And then she got murdered by a harpy. It's kind of fucked up. And don't forget about Christopher Lee on the tower, because Christopher Lee doing the voice of King Haggard. King Haggard is bipolar as shit. Because he's like, and that's what he's like. But he's like crazy. But it's so awesome because you know it's Christopher Lee. You just love Christopher Lee. And let's not forget about Jeff Bridges and Mia Farrow, okay? There are big names in this, and they did a really good job. My favorite just happens to be Schmendrick because Schmendrick is awesome. Schmendrick, in case you were wondering, literally means someone who is out of their depth. Honestly, I think Schmendrick is the main character. It just happens to be a story not focused on the main character. Kind of like how Mad Max Fury Road was not focused on Max, even though Max is the main character. It's a story about Furiosa. That's how I feel about this. It's a story about Schmendrick. It just so happens to be dealing with this unicorn situation. Overall, amazing animation, excellent voice acting. The music's not bad, except for that one song. So don't worry about the music. It's not like it's going to make you want to kill yourself as long as you fast forward that one song. My official rating and my unofficial rating system, totally own-worthy. So own-worthy that it is mecha super awesome. That's right, unicorn and all. And if you haven't seen this, by all means, do yourself a favor and check out The Last Unicorn. It's a lot deeper than you think. It is an anime. It just so happens to be commissioned by a Western studio, but it's still anime. It's everything you want it to be. Leave it alone and let it be the perfect thing that it is. This is AniView by Dave. I, of course, am Dave. If you have any questions, comments, confusions, suggestions, put them below and I will get back to you. See you next time.